Hey everybody. I just thought it would be a good day to talk about my twin flame story. This is Ari. Welcome back to my channel. It used to be called Magical Stories with Ari D, and I just changed it back to Ari because I wasn't telling any magical stories. So I figured today would be a nice day for me to share with you my twin flame story. If you don't know what a twin flame is, it is someone on this planet who has a matching soul blueprint as you. I believe that everybody does have a twin flame, but it just requires a level of spiritual maturity and ascension for you to get to kind of calling in their frequency. And once you do, watch out because your life is going to be crazy. Having said that, let me tell you a little bit about my twin flame story. It all started for me, I can track this way far back. When I was 13 years old, just like most girls, I would be in bed and think about what I wanted in a guy and make up this dream boyfriend. And I remember I would switch between green eyes and blue eyes. I always knew I wanted somebody who was going to be tall. My dad and my brother are both over 6 foot. So I was looking for someone tall, somebody who I ultimately decided had green eyes. That's 13. When I was 17 years old, I had finished my time with school. I didn't say I graduated. I was doing independent studies at home. I had to get out of school. And as I was doing my independent studies, I've always been very like tapped in, tuned in, had a sense of ESP. And so I heard this voice outside of me say yoga. This was back before anybody was into yoga. It wasn't a big trend here in the West. I had never heard of it. I'd never seen anything about it. And I started doing yoga because I was able to find something on Gaiam channel on my TV. So I started doing yoga with Sarah Ivanhoe all the time. Well, accompanied by my yoga was my meditation practice. This is where things got fun. When I meditated, I really took it seriously. I found my point of surrender and I started to increase my psychic ability and my ESP. And so, as I was meditating, strange things were happening to me. I started getting a sense that I wanted to live in a small town. Weird because I am from a big city. I wanted to date a cowboy. I started watching PBR, which is professional bull riding. I had also always been into bikes. That whole time I was home from school, I was doing wheelies outside my window and blaring Alice Cooper from the second story so I could have my bike moment. But the Thrasher magazine that I would read I started seeing things about dirt biking, and I'd never heard of that before either. Again, mind you, black girl from the city, black family, it wasn't like a common thing to hear about dirt biking. So I started really getting into motocross and watching the motocross shows and races and, getting into the stewards because they're the black racers and picking my favorite racers. Not much on the female front, sadly. But, anyways, all these things were happening to me as I was 17 years old. I also, excuse me, through the process of yoga and running while I was home my senior year, I lost 45 pounds in 3 months. And so I went from being a chubby girl to having a six pack and a svelte body with like some hourglass figure. My waist was like 24 inches. And so I'm getting off topic. That was when I was 17. Here comes my 18th birthday. I was dating a guy, and what happened is the guy was coming over to my house and he gets in a fight on the way to my house, in which causes these people to chase after him in a car all the way to my house. They crash their car into the garage. What the hell? The landlord got wind of it. My mom was not home, although she did allow me to have the party. The landlord got wind of it, and we were evicted. Begins my journey. Okay, so the guy crashes his car into our garage, right? We end up moving until we find our own place, which is now an apartment, not a beautiful Victorian house in downtown. And so I always felt so guilty, but it was actually one of those moments that the universe created. I couldn't do anything about it. And so that set us on a journey. Excuse me. We ended up living in an apartment with my mom, my brother, and my mom's wife. And once that lease was over, my mom and her wife moved to Colorado because that's where the girl was from, the lady was from. And my brother and I kind of split up. We had to decide what to do. And so I went and lived with my sister in LA. She's another one. And it was all fine. I was about 20 years old, maybe 19 or 20. And I lived with her for about a year, maybe a year and a half. I tried getting jobs at Universal Studios. I went to Second City Improv. I was sort of admitting to myself who I am, right? And so around the time that it's approaching my 21st birthday, I find out that my grandfather, who had raised me like a father, was sick and he was ill. He lived 6 hours away. And so what did I do? I left my job. They wouldn't let me transfer it. I left everything behind and I moved. I moved so I could see him. So it was the weirdest thing. I took an Amtrak train in, and I got in on May 17th at night, which is my sister's birthday. Her birthday's the day before mine. And then on May 18th, I went to see my grandfather, and he was about half the size that I remember him being, which was shocking to me. Such a strong man. But he was about half the size that I remembered him being. And so I played for him this Paul Simon song. Come on, take me to the Mardi Gras. 4 years earlier, my grandpa, I showed that song to him. My family's Creole, so it was kind of a thing. And he loved it. He played it on repeat over and over and over. But he started getting morbid and saying things like, this is the song I'm going to die to. This is the song I'm going to be buried to, all this stuff. Fast forward, May 18th, 2010. I played him that song, and he fell asleep. And so my sister, my mom, and I, we leave. I'm going to the store to get my first legal bottle of wine. Wonderful. It's my 21st birthday. And so about 45 minutes later, we get the call that nobody wants to get. Grandpa died. Came to the house. And so I walk in and I see my grandfather on the kitchen floor, and he had passed away. And it's just so strange and prophetic because he said, this is the song I'm going to die to, like all this stuff. And I got to play it for him. So through these series of circumstances, now again, I have nowhere to go because I'd left everything behind. And you know, you have some of those greedy family members who just want to come in and take everything, including the house. Well, after my grandpa died, that's exactly what happened. So the place that I could have stayed, the place that I grew up in, was now for sale, and I was homeless. I had nowhere to go. I tried making it for a long time. I was out and about. I finally got a job. It was at the Winchester Mystery House, and my brother did as well. But about in the same week, my mom came down from Colorado, and she asked me and my brother, she said, look, you guys, you can try to make it out here. You can keep doing what you've been doing, or you can come stay with me and live in Colorado. And so due to that blueprint and that imprinting I'd given myself back in my professional bull riding, Marlboro Red smoking, dirt bike, yoga days when I was 17, I was like, I'll go to Colorado. I don't want to try to do this anymore. I'm going to go to Colorado. Let's pause. I made myself this delicious soup for Valentine's Day. Yay me. So where were we? I decided I would go to Colorado. I had an adventurous spirit. I go to Colorado. The year is about 2010. I'm laughing because when I got there, it was biker rally in Ignacio. Hey, shout out to Ignacio. Aye! And so it was just like out of a fairy tale. I walk into this bar. It's called the Lone Wolf out in Arbalise. If you know what's up. And it's my very first night in Colorado. There's bikers everywhere. There's Harley Davidsons. There's all kinds of stuff. There's Native American people. There's the Utes. There's the white people that are weird. There's no other black people. And I walk into this bar, Lone Wolf. What t-shirt contest going on? The song playing is the Eagles, Heartache Tonight. I walk in, it's like, somebody's gonna hurt someone before the night is through. Somebody's gonna come undone. There's nothing you can do. Everybody wants to touch somebody. If it takes all night. Ding ding, everybody wants to take a little chance. Make it turn out right. It's gonna be a heartache tonight. A heartache tonight, I know. Hello, city girl, coming to Colorado. First time, this is my experience. This is not made up. My story is 1,000% true. It's just funny. And so I find myself settling in this small town of Arbalise where there's literally nobody. It's rural. There's this place called Navajo Lake. That's about it. And so I end up getting a job at the Sky Ute Native American Casino. But on top of that, I got a job at a costume shop for Peggy in the Durango Mall. And I was restoring costumes. And so one day, this lady comes in and she's a palm reader. And she wanted to read my palm. I didn't ask. And she goes, okay, let me see. You will have 2 light loves in your 20s. And then you're going to find the love of your life. Have you ever met anyone you just can't stop thinking about? And I was like, no, I haven't. She also revealed to me that I had lost a child, which had just happened like back in California before I came to Colorado. So how would she know that? So anyways, she tells me that and I'm like, okay, whatever. I keep going about my business. I date a lot of assholes, a lot of hurtful men that are abusive. And then through one of those relationships, I'm with this firefighter guy who I think is gay. I know this sounds so fake, but it's real. And all of a sudden, I'm returning to work because this asshole one night, he'd gone too crazy on me. And he gave me a black eye. And I had to stay home from work. I had worked at this Mexican restaurant called Tequila's in Bayfield. What's up, Ramon, Bianca? How's it going, guys? And so I walk into work and there's this guy that comes in with these other 2 people, and he seems to be like a third wheel. And he talked about something about being single because I'm a hostess. And I sat him and I was like, yeah, sometimes it's better to be single. And we high-fived, and so that was that. And then at the end of the night, he's interested in me, and he gives me his phone number. And it's like, Ian Rick. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't really care. Not a big deal to me. I got a black eye. I'm not even thinking about men. And so I went across the street back home to where I live with the asshole firefighter, and he wasn't home. He was out playing video games at his friend Blake's house, which he always did. And I was just about fucking fed up of it. And so I get my phone, I call that guy, and I went and hung out with him. And that night has changed my whole entire existence up to this point. I think that was March 9th, 2014. And so I meet with Ian. It's like a snowy, cold, dark night in Colorado. And we sat in my car and talked. And we're just doing introductions at this point. I tell him I'm Ariana. He says he's Ian. And I'm like, that's interesting. Your name's in my name, IAN. That's actually, it's in my mom's name, Eliane, Julian, Leanna. It's pretty much all my family members' name out of my mom and her kids. And so that was unique. Another weird thing happened, which is that I had rented the Bible a year earlier from the Bayfield Library, and it got stuck in my car CD player and it wouldn't come out. I tried it pretty often just to see if maybe today's the day it'll come out. And so we do these introductions, and he tells me his middle name is Matthew. Well, the book of Matthew was stuck in my car. He presses the button, it comes out. What the actual heck, okay? And so there was just this mystical, strange, otherworldly experience that I had with this guy that caused and activated an attraction within me towards him that I have never ever felt before and don't think I will ever feel again. And I've come to accept that. There's been so many mystical, crazy coincidences that have happened between him and I, and this has been going on since 2014. So this has been a long time. But going back to what I was saying about my energy when I dropped out of high school and started doing independent studies when I was 17, I had elevated so quickly in my consciousness that it had opened up a blueprint to me that was opening a pathway to my twin flame attraction. It literally told me where to go and what he would be into. I ended up, like I said, in a small rural town, Heartache Tonight, Lone Wolf Bar, meeting this guy. And when I met Ian, he was into all the things that I liked. The first time I spent the night at his house, he didn't tell me his parents were there, but I woke up in the morning and they were watching motocross. They were watching the races, something I would have watched myself. And so we're sitting down and I'm like, oh, there's James Stewart. He's racing right now. And he's like, what? He's like, I dirt bike. I'm like, the universe set this up. Marlboro Reds. That was me being naughty. On my 18th birthday, I was like, Mom, I'm going to go buy a pack of Marlboro Reds. I did. I don't smoke anymore, but I did, and that's what he smoked. Let me think of like our top 5 craziest coincidences. If you understand the twin flame dynamic, you know that there are instances in which you will go complete no contact. And it's really because you're ignoring some part of yourself. Your twin flame is your mirror. And so whatever you do to yourself, you do to them. And so I will say there's been a couple of fun ones. Here's one. There was one time that I was really upset with him for something, and I really didn't want to see him. And so I'm driving around town, and you know how you have that energy, and you're like, I really, really don't want to see them, but you don't want to see them so bad that you attract it. And so I end up, I call them warm drives, warm and cozy drives, where I just listen to my intuition and I let my spirit kind of guide me towards where I want to go. And I'm driving off the hill off in Colorado, and I end up driving towards the liquor store. And I get out of the car and I see him on the corner of Pueblo Community College. He's outside smoking a cigarette. And I walk up to him and he doesn't even say hi or anything. He just goes, I'm sorry for what I did and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, that is so weird. It's like we're in constant communication. That is an example of twin flame communication. Other things. This one was fun too. I had to move back to California after the asshole firefighter. I didn't have anywhere to go, so I had to come to California. And what was it? Oh yeah, I was going to Colorado to visit my mom for the new year, and just a couple months earlier, I was starting to get sensation around my twin flame energy again, and I'm like, oh, he's thinking of me. So, um, you can just feel when they're feeling you. And so I am taking this. I just had a knowing in me that he was going to contact me, even though we hadn't spoken for maybe 6 months. And so I'm going to Colorado. I drive 19 hours with my brother and his girlfriend, and I'm almost all the way to Arbalese when I get a call. It's Ian. How the hell did I know? And he calls me and he wants to talk, and I'm just obviously delighted, but also like, okay, the heck? And he's like, I'm sorry, but I can't hear you that well. What's going on? And I'm like, well, that's because I'm in Arbalese. He's like, what? You didn't tell me you were coming to Colorado. I'm like, yeah, I didn't have to. And so he met up with me and my family. I went and picked him up, and he made gumbo with us. And that was a very cool event. That was number two. Number three, now mind you, this is going on over a period of 8 years, 10 years now at this point. Man, even when he got into other relationships, I had information about him I wasn't asking for. Um, Another cool one is I remember I wrote a list. This was after we had not seen each other for a couple of years because I had to go back to California. I came back to Colorado. This was 2016. I wrote a list of everything I wanted in a man. I was listening to Louise Hay and doing affirmations, and he showed up at my house. He's never showed up at my house again. I mean, before then, I wasn't home. I actually had stepped out to do something, but he showed up at my house. I mean, come on now. Um, and then I'll fast forward to I ended up getting into a relationship, and this was really at the crux of me and Ian trying to take things to the next level. It's weird how things can happen like this, but I'd moved back to California. I had my own place. Back to Colorado. I had my own place. This was 2016, and I remember I was getting ready for work. I didn't tell Ian I moved back. I was getting ready for work for tequilas. I went back to the restaurant, and I remember watching some crows fight in my backyard over some food. They were fighting, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. It just got my attention. And so I went to work across the street in this little small town at Tequila's, and in walks Ian. Just the hell? It's like he's got GPS on me. He walks in, but he says the most eeriest thing. He says, hey, you got anything crows can eat? What? And so our romance at that point was we were trying to go to the next level, but I think we were just both really not ready. We're immature. And so remember one night we sat in his truck, his F 150, teal F 150, and he sang Wonder Boy for me, the Tenacious D song. It was the best. He like really performed the hell out of it. But so I meet this guy, and we just are oozing similarities just from the things we like. From black coffee to the office to motocross to the things we value and the way that we treated people with kindness. And it was really, I felt like we'd known each other before. It was weird. I went from the restaurant of, I don't care about you, like, okay, go. All right, I got your number, leave me alone. To the same night going like, what the hell? Where do I know you from? I still wonder where I know him from. So this is my twin flame story. There has been so many psychic phenomena that have happened between me and Ian. I feel like I should say this, but even as we grew up and I ended up in a relationship with literally the devil, my children's father is Satan. I'll save that for another video. He fooled me. He tricked me. He conned me. This man is disgusting. Okay? I'll tell you more about it later. But even afterwards, we still found a way to each other. But backing up a little bit, he got into a relationship and I was going to Bayfield to go to my storage. I was leaving Colorado again, and my angels told me to go to a gas station that I had frequented. The guy who worked there, Gary, I was friends with him, and I went there, and he told me that his daughter was in a relationship and with someone, and she was pregnant. And it came to my attention that his daughter was with Ian. And it was just funny because throughout years and years, I talked to Gary. He was a pal of mine. And I always told him that there's this one guy I burn for, this one guy that I love. No one could stop me from loving him. Well, it's weird that the angels ended up putting his daughter with my twin flame. And they let me be privy to that information. My angels are amazing. Thank you, angels. I love you so very much. And so they also gave me dreams that they were breaking up. The dream was so strong that I went on Facebook and I see now that she's single. I haven't heard from Ian. I haven't heard from anybody, but it's twin flames are one of the most mysterious, delightful, crazy, unrequited, burning flame love instances that you could ever discover. If you're interested in meeting your twin flame or you feel like you already have, please leave a comment below and give them a shout out for Valentine's Day. I did sing a song for my twin flame. It may not be my best, but I just want the universe to know that I still want him. I've dated other people. There's nobody else like the twin flame because it's me. And so, have a happy Valentine's Day, everybody. If you stayed this long, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you and I bless you with my good energy that I'm sending your way now. Twin flames, what are your ideas? What are your thoughts, your opinions? Do you think that they're just crazy? Did you think that they were crazy, but you're back on board? Do you have psychic phenomena with this other person that you just could never, ever explain? I mean, I think that's one of the most addictive things for me is the psychic phenomena. Just one last one. Okay, two last ones. One time I was meditating and I fell asleep in my meditation and I saw him. And this was the only other time, but he showed up at my house. This is after I had kids. So there's one. And then another time, I was in California and I'd been listening to Neil Young. Neil Young is one of our ways of speaking to each other. And he called me after not calling me for about 4 or 5 months and said he was going to a Neil Young concert that night. I can't explain it. So, I'm in love with God, and I thank God for expressing itself through me and through this other being. Have a great day. Thank you for letting me talk. I'm going to enjoy my delicious soup that I made, and I'm going to tell you all, peace out for now. Don't give up. Go all in. Bye.